consultations. This can include using programming languages like R and Python to work with your data, and also on geospatial analysis with ArcGIS or other GIS tools. We do a lot with data management through consultations and workshops like this one. We can help with best practices for data management or data management plans, and also with de-identifying human subjects data and learning the processes for that. We have workshops and offer consultations on visualizing your data. This can be through maps for spatial data, and we also teach some data visualization tools to create charts and graphs and other things for your data. And finally, we can help with sharing your data. Data Services runs the JHU Data Archive, where all JHU researchers can publicly share their research data. And we can also help you find another data repository if your field has a standard repository, or if your journal or funder may have specific data sharing requirements. And with data sharing, we will also help review data quality to ensure that your data is reusable. And this can include things like making sure your data has a citation and a permanent identifier like a DOI. And this workshop today will be about the DMP tool. So before we begin, I just want to be clear that it is mostly about the DMP tool software and how to use it. So we'll focus on the functionality of this tool and how it can help you write a data management plan. So we're not going to really get into how to write a data management plan too deeply, and we're not going to get into the specific requirements of different research funders for what their data management plans have to include. We do have an online training that goes in depth on data management plans and what to include in those. And data services consultants are available for individual consultations and reviews of your data management plans. So we have many services for helping you figure out what to include and getting reviews of your data management plans, but that is not the primary focus for today. So today we will have a brief introduction to data management plans, or DMPs, as I will call them often throughout the workshop. I'll also talk a bit about why you should write a DMP. We'll talk about Dmptool, how it can help you with your data management plan, and go over a tutorial of Dmptool. And I'll present some resources at the end. But the bulk of today's workshop will be on Dmptool and a hands-on tutorial of how that tool works. And I see Dave has shared some links in the chat, first to Dmptool and then to our training on data management plans that's available online on our website. So before we get into it, I'd like to know a bit more about who is in the webinar today. So I have a few questions on Poll Everywhere, which you can find at this link at the top, pollev.com/dataservices051. And I've put that link into the chat as well. A lot of medicine, public health, nursing. Great. Awesome. And then what is your position? Research staff, faculty, graduate students, a little bit of everything. All right. And finally, have you written a DMP before? right, a lot of people who have never written a DMP. That's great. We will go over that and hopefully get you started for future data management plans. All right. So what is a data management plan, or DMP? So a data management plan describes how research data for a project will be gathered, stored, documented, and shared. It is not meant to be the same as a methods section of a paper. So your DMP is not going to go too deep into how data was gathered or how it was created and analyzed. It focuses more on the storage, the access, and the ultimate sharing of data when a project is complete. And many funders have asked for DMPs to go with grant proposals. They often work best when you create a DMP at the beginning of a project so that you have a plan or sort of a guide for taking care of your research data throughout the project. So that's why they tend to be part of the grant proposal stage. And even though they are often required, we do always recommend writing a data management plan, even if it's not required, so you have that guide about how to handle your data throughout the course of your project. And as a note, data management plans may go by many different names. Some common ones we see are data sharing plans or data management and sharing plans. But they all kind of mean the same thing. It's a document that talks about where your research data is going to be during a project, after a project is complete, what your data is going to look like, who will have access to your data, how others may be able to use or understand your data, and things like that. So I'll be using the name Data Management Plan, or DMP, throughout this workshop, but you may see other names to refer to the same type of document. So the main components of the data management plan, again, are data gathering and storage. So what is the source of the data, who will have access to it, and where will it be located? You'll also want to include information about documentation, if you're following any standards, and how you will keep data organized and consistent among collaborators on your project. And finally, data sharing. So will any data be shared, and then where and how that data will be shared. So there are many reasons to write a data management plan. One of the primary reasons we see is that it's required by your funder or publisher. But writing a data management plan can also help save time at the end of a project, especially when it comes time for sharing your data and you need to write a README file or other documentation about your data. Your data management plan can really help with that because a lot of that information may already be written out in your plan. So it will help with creating that documentation at the end. DMPs are also great for collaboration. They can help establish and define procedures for a research team and the roles and responsibilities that each person on the team will have. So that is another reason why they are great to write at the beginning of a research project, so you can really lay out all of those roles and procedures for keeping data consistent. And data management plans can be shared. So you can share with your collaborators so that everyone is on the same page about how data will be handled. And you can also share, outside of your research team, if you have a really great plan or if you want to see someone else's plan, they're great documents to learn about how other people are handling their data. So who requires data management plans? Many funding agencies are requiring data management plans at some stage in the proposal process, and they're only becoming more common. So we see a lot of federal funders requiring data management plans during the grant proposal stage, and we also see a lot of private funders as well. And many of these funders that you see here are also available on the Dmptool. So if you're applying for a grant for any of these, you'll be able to use Dmptool to help you create your data management plan for that proposal. So now that we know a bit about data management plans, let's talk about Dmptool. So Dmptool is a free online tool for writing data management plans. It's made up of templates for different funding agencies, and it really helps lead you through the process of writing a data management plan. So once you choose the funder that you're writing your plan for, the tool will create an outline for you, so you can fill in all of the sections of your plan. And there's additional guidance within the tool as well. So you'll see resources provided by the funding agencies on data management plans and their specific requirements. And you'll also see resources from other institutions like JHU Data Services. We've put in Hopkins specific information that you'll be able to see. So we'll have links out to other resources and information about data management at the university and any requirements for researchers from JHU. So you can see all of that right within the tool. And one of the great things about Dmptool is that it really is tailored to specific funders, since every funder is looking for something a little bit different. And when they ask for a data management plan, Dmptool can help you write a plan that's really tailored to what that funding agency is looking for. And it is based at the University of California, but it has over 200 participating institutions worldwide. And being a member or participating institution of Dmptool allows us to include some of that extra guidance that you'll see that is specific to JHU. And it also allows researchers to log in using their Hopkins credentials. So you can use single sign-on, and it makes it very easy to create an account and to see guidance from Hopkins and share your plan with other collaborators at the university. And it also means that you can request feedback from us directly from within the tool. So it makes it very easy to share and get feedback on your plan. So if this looks like you trying to write a data management plan, I know many people in this workshop today have never written a data management plan before, so don't worry. Dmptool can help, really help with creating your data management plan. So I've mentioned some of this already, but Dmptool really creates a step-by-step process for writing a data management plan. That will be, tailored to your funder and what your funder is looking for. So it makes it easy to share your plan and to get feedback on your data management plan. There are resources and helpful tips for each different section of your plan. And these tips are, embedded right within the tool, and they're specific to each funder. And Dmptool can also help keep your plans for different projects all in one place. So you can find them easily, and it would also make it pretty easy to take components from, one project and, put them into a new data management plan for a different project. All right, so I'm going to jump into our tutorial of data management of Dmptool so we can see how the tool works. And I will be switching away from the slides to do a live tutorial of the Dmptool today. And you're welcome to follow along with me in your own browser if you want to log in and get some hands-on experience with the tool. But you're also welcome to just watch what I'm doing on the screen share here today, whichever works for you. I know it can be difficult to watch what I'm doing and follow along in a separate window. So whichever works for you is fine today. But before I start the tutorial, I'd like to know if anyone has a specific funder that they want to see. So feel free to fill out this poll. All right. We seem to have pretty overwhelming support for NIH today. So that is what I will use. All right, so if you are following along with me today, open a new browser or a tab and go to dmptool.org. And Dave has put the link in the chat as well. So here is the home page. We have some information about Dmptool right here. Now they have a blog that they link to and tell you some information about the users and plans and things like that. We're going to log in first. So we can do that through this sign in button in the top right corner or the get started button. Do the get started today. And whichever one we choose, the sign in or get started, we'll see three options. And we're going to choose option 1, that our institution is affiliated with Dmptool. So we can just start typing and Johns Hopkins will appear. Click go. And it's taking me to directly to the single sign-on page because I have logged into Dmptool before. If this is your first time logging into Dmptool, you may have gotten a page that asks you to log in or create an account. So if this is your first time logging in, you would want to use the create account section on the right that you may see. And it just asks you for an email and password and some more information. And this will be connected to your Hopkins account. So in the future, you'll be able to do the single sign-on and it will kind of let you straight in like how I was able to log in. And this first page that you'll see once you're logged in is called the dashboard. And I actually want to take a minute just to make sure people have been able to get into the dashboard. So if you're following along, if you could just give a little, thumbs up or click the little yes button in the participants window so I know that some people have been able to log into Dmptool. Great. All right, I see a few yeses, so I will keep going. So this is the dashboard view again. This will show any plans that you've created at the top. I have a few test plans here. And then it shows public plans at the bottom. So these public Johns Hopkins plans were created by JHU researchers and have been made public to anyone within the organization. So this is just an option. You can choose to keep your plans private, just to you and anyone that you share it with, or you can make your plans public to the organization, or you can make your plans public to anyone who has access to Dmptool. And these are all options. Keeping plans private is perfectly okay. As administrators, however, all of the data services consultants will be able to see plans that are created in Dmptool. So up at the top here, I have this third admin features tab, which you likely will not be able to see. You should just be seeing the My Dashboard and the Create Plan tabs up at the top. So we'll start by creating our test data management plan. So you can do this through the Create Plan tab at the top, or we have this Create Plan button underneath our plans. When we get this screen to create a new plan, we need to fill in some information at the beginning, but pretty much all of this information can be changed later on. The tool is very flexible that way. So if you start typing in a title and then you decide you want to change it, that's perfectly fine. You can always change the title or things like that later. I'm going to just create a title so I know that it's a test plan. I see a question in the chat about, can the plans be shared with non-JHU collaborators? And the answer is yes, they can be shared outside JHU. There's a place you can directly add collaborators that I will show, and you can send it to any email address. And anyone can create an account with Dmptool as well. So if you're collaborating with someone whose institution is not a Dmptool member, they can still create an account and log in, and you can share with them that way. All right, so creating the plan, I've put in a name, Test Dmptool Plan. And I'm going to check this box over on the right that it is a mock project for testing, practice, or educational purposes. And this doesn't change the functionality of the tool at all. If you say that it's a test project, you still get the full functions of the tool to request feedback, to share with collaborators. It is just for separating out, the test plans from kind of the non-test plans. It's just for identification, so we can understand usage and how the tool is being used. And if you do start out with a test plan and you check this box, and then you decide that you want to use it as, not a test, it's going to be kind of an official plan you're going to use, you can always uncheck this box later. So you can, go back and forth. We can select a primary research organization next. So because I've logged in through Johns Hopkins, I see Johns Hopkins already filled in right there for me. So I'm just going to leave that there for now. This is just for the additional guidance that you'll get. So by putting Hopkins here, it will show me the Hopkins specific guidance that Data Services has put into Dmptool. And if you're using a different primary research organization, maybe the PI on a project is at a different institution, you can always put that there, or you can say no research organization. And finally, we will select our primary funding organization. This is how Dmptool determines which template we're going to get. You can always click the box on the right that there is no funder associated with your plan, or that the funder is not listed. And this will give you just a generic plan with some basic data management plan concepts, not tailored to any individual funder, but still great questions and great ways to think about your data management plan. And we had support for NIH today. I will start typing, and you'll see a pop-up box with whatever relates to what you've been typing. So I can just choose NIH. And some of the funders have multiple templates if they have different grants and different requirements for each grant that you can apply for. So for NIH, there's a genomic data sharing and there's a generic template in here. So as a quick note, I happen to know that NIH is doing a lot of work to update their data management plan requirements. And some of that, some of the templates aren't, are a little more general than others. So I know that this NIH generic template really only has a few questions, and it's not the best example to show about how Dmptool works. You can certainly use it, and the information in this generic template does come directly from NIH data management plan guidance, but there are only a few fields in it. So I'm going to use the genomic data sharing plan today because it's just a bit of a better example for kind of what Dmptool can do and how it works. So now that I have all my information filled out, I will create the plan. So now we are brought to this project details page. We see a lot of tabs across the top for working with our data management plan, and I will go over each tab. So here on this first details tab, we can see all the basic information about our plan. This is where we can change the title if we would like to. And we can also say, uncheck the box if we don't want it to be designated as a test project anymore. We can put some more information about the grant or the project. We can connect it to an ID number, the grant number, things like that. And on the right-hand side here, we have select guidance. So this is where we decide which kind of guidance and resources we want to be able to see in our data management plan. So Dmptool, they have some of their own guidance that's automatically checked off for us. I'm also going to make sure that Johns Hopkins is checked so that we see the data services guidance. And we can see the full list of all the institutions that have created their own guidance. Many of these are universities. There may be some funding agencies in there as well. But I'm going to stick to the Dmptool guidance and Johns Hopkins today. Click Save just to make sure that I have that saved. But it had automatically moved me to the next tab. But this is what our project details page would look like. And the next step would be to add any contributors. So we can add a contributor if we would like, if we want to share our plan with someone else, and if we want to give someone else edit access to our plan. So I'm going to add Dave, my colleague, as a collaborator today. So all I have to do is put in his name and email. Already gives me the affiliation, but I could change that if he was at another institution. We have some other options. You can connect to an ORCID ID, and then you have to choose a role. I will say he is a co-PI, and I can save that. So now I'll be able to see all of my contributors who I have here who are able to edit the plan and what their role may be. Moving on to the third tab, the Plan Overview tab. Here we see some information about the template. So this tells us things like the version and when this template was last created. You'll see that templates are updated quite often. So they're constantly updating, making sure that this tool has the most updated information possible for data management requirements for each funder. And here we see what those requirements are and all the information that's going into our template. that we'll have to answer for our data management plan. So moving on to our Write Plan tab, this is likely where you'll spend most of your time if you're using Dmptool. And we can see here all of those parts that were in the plan overview are broken down into individual sections. So this is how Dmptool makes it very easy to know exactly what your plan requires, and breaking everything down into step-by-step pieces. I can expand them all with one button. And we have for each section, kind of a general headline. And then we have more information that comes directly from the funding agency about what they're looking for, what we have to fill in this section, if there's any, specific information that they need from the researchers. And if we start typing in a text box, and we save it, we get another helpful pop-up about when this question was answered. So it says, just now, and the time will increase as time goes by. So it says when this question was answered and who it was answered by. So this can be really helpful for knowing, if you have the most updated kind of thinking about your data management plan in the tool, and then who is responsible for the ideas in each section. So that if you have a question about something in one of the specific sections, you can see, who edited it last, and you know exactly who to talk to about that section. So that can be really helpful when you are working on a plan with multiple people. And every section will look just like this one, where we have, kind of the main idea, and then some funding agency specific explanations, and then our text box to start kind of answering that prompt. So I've talked a bit about the guidance and the resources a few times, and we have all of that over on the right-hand side here in the guidance tabs. So the first tab we're going to see is NIH. This is more funder-specific guidance. And here we have a lot of links directly to the NIH website. So we'll see their genomic data sharing policy, data sharing FAQ, supplemental information to the policy. So this makes it very easy as well to get the information directly from the funding agency. So Dmptool will kind of take the most important parts that you need to know, but they will kind of distill some of the official guidance down a little bit. But they link you directly back to the guidance. So all of your links to some of the official policies are all in one place and directly next to where that section in your plan is. So this is the data repository section that would be on data sharing. So it links you out to, the data sharing policies. Our next tab is JHU. So this is the Hopkins specific guidance that the data management consultants have entered into Dmptool here. So we have some guidance here on data repositories. We talk about some more information that you can get on data repositories, and we also link you to our JHU data archive and some more information about that. And we even have some language here that you could put into your plan about archiving in the JHU data archive, if that's where you might choose to share your data. And then we have some more things to think about on ethics and privacy, and then some links out to Hopkins websites and IRB requirements, so you can see the sort of data sharing requirements and recommendations that are specific to the university. And our last guidance tab up here is Dmptool. So some of these kind of headers are similar, but then there are additional questions and things to think about relating to data management that comes directly from the Dmptool and the data management experts who maintain this tool. And next to this guidance section at the top, we have comments. So here, if you are collaborating and you want to add a comment to this section, you can add it right here, right next to each section. And this is also how data services can review your plan. So if you ask us for a review of your plan, we can go in and add comments directly on the plan and on each section, so that it's very specific to each section. And you can see our comments right here, right next to where your plan is, and edit things as you need to. So once we're done drafting our plan, if we were to, get a draft and answer all 6 questions here, the next thing we can do is share our plan. So this is where we can set the privacy of our plan and who we want to be able to see it, and invite additional collaborators and give them permissions as well. So we may want someone to co-own our plan so they can have all the same rights as we do, or we may just want someone to be able to read it if we want to share, but we don't want them to have edit access. The next thing we might want to do is request feedback. So through this request feedback tab, you can send an email directly to data services. So this button will just send us an email. It's very simple, and we will see your request and be able to get back to you within 2 business days through the comments. Oops. And I have just sent us an email. So easy. And if you would like to contact us, if you have some specific questions, you can also use this contact button at the top with the little mail logo next to it. And that will open an email window for you to email data services if you want to ask anything specific. I see a question in the chat about when we request feedback, is there a charge for it? Dave has answered absolutely not, and that's correct. For all divisions that participate in data management services, there is no charge for data management consultations or using Dmptool or reviews of data management plans. And the last thing we might want to do when we are finished with our plan is download it. So we can export it out of the Dmptool to include in a grant proposal or to put with our other research resources. So the default setting for exporting a plan is in a PDF format, and it does give you some formatting options if you want to change the font or the size. But you can also export in formats that you can edit. So you can do a plain text or a Word document. You don't get the formatting options here, but this will be a Word document that you can fully edit however you choose. So you can start drafting in the plan, in the Dmptool, export your plan out of the tool, and continue editing and formatting however you like. And so that is pretty much it for the main functions of Dmptool. It's a pretty simple tool. It breaks down your data management plans into those step-by-step components, and gives you a lot of options for sharing, for feedback, and then for exporting your plans. And before we move on, I'd like to know if there are any questions on Dmptool or anything that you want to see further explanation or a tutorial of. So if you have anything extra that you want to see right now, feel free to unmute and let me know or write it in the chat.
Marley, you might want to add something to the one question we just got in the chat room.
Yes, I see the question.
Yeah.
Can this be used as a data use or data sharing agreement? In some ways, there may be some different components that you'd want to include in a data use or data sharing agreement. A lot of the templates in Dmptool really focus on, where the data will be located, who will have access to it, documentation about the data, and data sharing. But if you use some of the generic templates, they're a bit more broad, some of the topics. So you may be able to use it as a data use or data sharing agreement. But it's also just a great tool for collaboration. So if you want a tool where you can work with other people and kind of see through all the different components you may need to think about step by step, then you can definitely use Dmptool. It's very flexible, so it can be a great tool for collaborative development of, data management planning. And there's another question about if we're writing for a foundation that is not listed, will it produce a generic template? Yes, it will. So I can demonstrate that. I'll just create a new plan very quickly. Name it test, and we have this button on the right for that no funder associated, and then it will gray out the primary funding organization box. So if I create that, we'll still see on the right plan section, we still have several sections here and different boxes just for some general data management planning. We have a question about response time for feedback on data management plans. And Dave answered that we're generally able to respond within 2 business days. And a question, shouldn't you clarify that if you are sharing data with external investigators, the data use agreement needs to go through ORA? And Dave said we are happy to answer questions or have a meeting. So he's correct.
I was answering the prior question.
About a different one. Okay.
Yeah, that one came through. But that's a very good point. Yes, thanks for bringing that up, Catherine. That would be going through Office of Research Administration, setting up the data use agreements.
Yes. Yeah, on the data use agreements, if this was in response to my previous answer, I wouldn't use, Dmptool to share your data use agreement. I don't think it can be in place of the official agreement, but while you're sort of developing all the things you may need to include in the agreement, Dmptool can be a great place for that development and thinking through all of the different components that may need to be part of that agreement. All right. Any other questions, things I can show on the tool? All right, I will go back to my slides for a quick wrap up. So I do have a few screenshots on the slides here. I'll send out the slides after the workshop so that if you do go back, I have the screenshots here so you can see some of the main functions that I went over and where you can find those within the tool. So I have a brief overview of Dmptool here. Again, if you're referring back to these slides later on, you've seen a lot of these kind of main points before, but I'd just like to highlight that Dmptool is a free tool for developing data management plans. It's tailored to your funding agency. And then we have a lot of that extra guidance and ability to share your plan or request feedback from data services. I have a few ways on how to get help with a data management plan. So you can use Dmptool to request a review from data services directly from within the tool. And you can also email data services for a consultation. So if you have like a more in-depth overview. And we also have live webinars like this one on best practices for data management, on de-identifying your data for human subjects research, and on reproducible research, which will be coming in the fall semester. I have some additional resources on data management planning and Dmptool here. So at the top, some resources from the Dmptool itself. They have a lot of guidance on how the tool was created and how to use it on their website. And they also have a list of all of the funding agencies that are available and when the templates were most recently updated. So you can see that in a chart on their website. I have some links to data management planning resources. There's one from Johns Hopkins Medicine that has some sample plans and some great resources specific to clinical research. And I like to put a link to the US Geological Survey data management guidance as well. They have some really comprehensive resources and guidance on data management planning that can be adapted pretty widely outside of USGS kind of work. So I really like a lot of their guidance just for a different way of thinking about data management planning. And then I put some links to data services resources, including our research guides on our website and our online self-paced trainings. So you will get these slides and be able to click all of these links as well. And finally, I want to share a few resources on data sharing and data repositories. We get a lot of questions about where to share data. So we can always help you find the best place to share data for your specific research. But I just wanted to highlight a few discipline-specific data repositories for social sciences research, health research, and other areas. And some general repositories as well. So we have the JHU Data Archive, which is available to all JHU researchers, and archiving is free for data sets up to 1 terabyte in size. And I also want to highlight this RE3 Data website, which is a catalog of data repositories. So if you're looking for something in a specific field, you can search the catalog. It's pretty comprehensive and can help you find data repositories in a specific field. And that is it for the Dmptool workshop. We do have a survey link here that I would appreciate if you're able to fill out. It really helps us improve our workshops through the content and the format of our webinars. So Dave has put that link in the chat. And we still have a few minutes for questions. So if there are any additional questions, anything you want to see on Dmptool, feel free to put that in the chat or unmute and let me know. And there was a question about, formatting in bullets or numbered sections and subsections. And Dave was right with the answer. There are some formatting features within Dmptool. I believe you can have bullets and numbers. I don't believe you can do subsections within Dmptool, but you can export into, Word or, plain text and edit the formatting that way.
The major sections, I believe, which will have the different fields, will kind of appear as headings when you do export it. So we'll have the data sharing section as a heading.
Yes, that is correct. It will look pretty similar to how you see it in the tool with the headings. And you can choose to include, kind of the additional question guidance or not. And yes, I will send the slides later this afternoon, so you will get those today. All right, if there are no additional questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. Thanks, everyone.